Welcome back to another video on Darling Little Writer. Today we are talking tea and we are talking books. For those who don't know, I have another YouTube channel. It's called Darling Little Artist. I do a lot of nail painting over there. I've done some crafts with the short form content I have there, and so you can feel free to check that out. But this week on that channel, I tried out the new nail polish collection by Holo Taco with their collab with David's Tea. Now, these are two companies that I love dearly, and it inspired me to kind of relate tea to my other passion, which is books. So today I thought it'd be fun. I grabbed all my David's Tea that I had in my pantry, and I thought it'd be fun to pick out some books from my little library back here and see what would be the best pairing, like what book to what tea would be the best pairing. So let's get started. First we have Simply Maple Breakfast. This I had to pick first. This is Simply Nailogical's collab with David's Tea for their tea. It's a limited edition tea, and I love following Christine and Simply Nailogical over on her channel, and I was so excited when this tea came out. It is a black tea with a little bit of maple, so it's very much like a breakfast tea, but it's not too sweet if that's not your thing. And I was like, this tea needs an iconic book to go with it. And the one that I just felt like would be right at this time is The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo. I feel this book has become so iconic, and it kind of has the same type of vibe that the tea is giving. So I think these two would go good together. Next, we have another classic. We have Vanilla Cappuccino. This is one of my favorites because I was kind of a coffee girly before I was a tea girly, and this tastes like the most like coffee. It has the same kind of mood like coffee. And so thinking about what book I would want to pick for this tea, I decided to go with something very literary and something that I could imagine reading in a coffee shop and feeling like I have a lot of thoughts on it and just wanting to, have literary discussions on. I decided to go with The Midnight Library by Matt Haig. This book I read last year. It's a really interesting concept, and I think, I don't know, I would love to just drink some vanilla cappuccino tea and just discuss this book, because even though I have a couple issues with this book, I feel like I could talk about this concept in this book for so long. I could spend all day at a coffee shop just talking about this book. So I think this is a pretty good pairing. Next, we are getting into some of the February flavors. So we have Cinnamon Sugar Churro. This is a very sweet tea, and I was thinking of going with kind of a romance, but it doesn't feel like, a tea you would drink in the summer, like a light and breezy summer read, beach read kind of thing. A little bit heavier and a more of something that you would read during the winter and be bundled up in blankets and everything. This is a romance that has a lot of depth to it, and I think it has enough sweetness that I think it will go with this, but it's a very like kind of wintry sweetness. The next tea flavor we have is Cardamom French Toast. It's another February flavor, and I decided to pair it with this romance, The Loveliest Chocolate Shop in Paris. So this is such a sweet story. It's by Jenny Colligan. It's one of her standalone books. It's about these two different relationships. One is kind of a younger couple, one is an older couple that has that got separated and kind of find their way back to each other at the, I don't want to give it too much away, but like it's a very sweet, bittersweet story, I think. Bittersweet story, and also like, French toast, Paris. I thought it worked. Next, we're getting into some of the spring, summer, kind of warmer temperature flavors. This is the gin and tonic, and I thought this would pair great with A Perfect Vintage. This is by Chelsea Fagan. This was her debut fiction debut novel. She's written other nonfiction books, and this book just makes you want to drink cocktails poolside and just bathe in the sun. And I just thought, what better tea than with a gin and tonic? So I thought these would work very well together. Next we have Hibiscus Splash. This is a fruit tea, and I thought that a fun kind of summer read that I kind of think of it is A Funny Story. I think that this is just so refreshing, and I find all of Emily Henry books very refreshing. She comes up again here, but I just thought that this would be just a nice pairing. I could just imagine myself drinking like an iced version of this and just reading this in the summer. Like, this just felt like a great experience, like the best way to read this book. So next is Blueberry Jam, and this tea just made me think of like a book about kind of a farm and a very small town, quaint setting. Even though it's not blueberries, I decided to go with Tom Lake. This book takes place on a cherry farm, and basically a mom is telling her daughters about this love affair she had with this famous actor. And it's just such, I love this book. I think it's such an amazing book, and I highly recommend it. I just thought this would just be such a fun pairing with blueberry jam tea and with reading this book. It's such a cozy and sweet vibe. Okay, my leg is falling asleep, so I'm going to shift positions here. Hopefully I can make this work. Now we're moving on to some of the matcha flavors, which is very summer in my opinion. I love drinking matcha in the summer, both like hot and iced. And this first one is watermelon matcha, which to me, watermelon is the most refreshing flavor. I love it so much, and I decided to go with another Emily Henry book for this one, Happy Place. I just thought this would be such a vibe in the summer to read. Basically, this couple breaks up and they don't really want to tell their best friends, but they end up having to go to this getaway at this cottage in Maine. And this just felt like a very kind of vacation-y vibe, the two of them. And then to keep it going, we have another matcha tea, Banana Matcha. And this one I'm going with Book Lovers. Again, I just think that this would be such a fun summer tea and refreshing. Same with Emily Henry. I love the idea of reading her books in the summer, even though I am probably gonna be reading some of her books in the next couple months when it is freezing cold here in Michigan, but that's okay. But I just, for anyone who is planning out their summer TBR, maybe pick up some banana matcha and read some Emily Henry. And for our next matcha flavor, we have pistachio matcha. Now this one didn't feel as like it felt like it wasn't, this one didn't feel as like refreshing, like the same vibe as Emily Henry. So I decided to go with a different author that I felt kind of went with the pistachio vibe, and that is Sally Rooney. I just felt like this match just made sense. It's a nice romance, but I feel like pistachio is very Sally Rooney. And if you know, you know. So the next one is Blood Orange Boost. And this one is a green tea. And it is pretty refreshing, but the blood orange kind of gives it like, kind of feels like a darker vibe. I decided to go with The Guest List. Now this is more of a thriller, but it takes place on this island, and it's kind of framed like this wedding is kind of like a getaway, but it, kind of turns, things don't work out the way that they originally planned. And I just feel like this is a good mixture of the two because again, it's, you know, fun to read, but it has a few darker tones. And I just kind of felt like they went together. Now we're getting into fall vibes, and I know it's February, and that feels like forever ago or like, you know, a long ways away. I still had some leftover tea from last fall, so I decided to include it. The next one is Monster Mash, very Halloween, and I was trying to find, I couldn't find like a book that was like pure Halloween that I really wanted to include. So I decided to go with The Rumor, which is a thriller, and there's kind of like a monster in it. I feel like that works, and I feel like when you read it, you'll get it. And so I think I kind of played on the monster part, and yeah, I think there's depth there. Next, another Halloween tea is Candy Corn Chai. And this one is more kind of a sweeter one. I was thinking very much cozy fantasy. And so I had to go with The Very Secret Society of Irregular Witches. I love this book. It is such a cute romance, and it's so cute. It's about this witch that goes to teach this other family of witches like their magic with these like 3 young girls that they haven't really learned how to use their powers yet. And it's such a cute world, and she kind of falls for their older brother, and it's so cute. When I saw this tea, this is the book that I instantly thought of. So if you have not read this book, and you know, you want to save it for October, totally get it, but this tea would be perfect. Next, we have another matcha. This is pumpkin pie matcha, and this is such a fall vibe that I had to go with the Pumpkin Spice Cafe. So this book, a woman takes over her aunt's cafe after kind of having like a burnout, stressful episode in the city, and she falls in love with this farmer. It's everything fall. It's all the fall vibes, and it's like all small town. And this is just instantly what I thought of when I saw the pumpkin pie matcha. I was like, this is perfect. This is like, you can't get more pumpkin than this. Next, we have Pumpkin Earl Grey, and I struggled with this. But the Earl Grey really stood out to me as another Sally Rooney, very Sally Rooney type tea, or like a tea that I would read, or a tea that I would drink while reading Sally Rooney. And I thought of Conversations with Friends. This book, the characters are in college, so there's a little bit of fall vibes because they are, like for at least part of the book, they are in kind of school. The semester takes place in fall, so the pumpkin kind of works, but it's not like super fall vibes, but it just felt right with like the tea that I had. Like this book just seemed to match up well with it. And then the last pumpkin flavor we have is pumpkin creme brulee, and with this flavor I was trying to think of a fall book that would be on the sweeter side, and I thought of The Spell Shop. Now, I have not read this book yet, but I have heard that it's just super sweet, and so I just thought these two would go really well together. Then we have another fall flavor, Caramel Apple, which I think of this book as a fall book. I don't know if it's necessarily a fall book. I know it was marketed a lot during the fall, or I saw a lot of people talking about it during the fall. It has fall leaves on it. But this one is You Again. Now, this is a spicy romance, and I just thought, you know, Caramel Apple has its own little spice to it, and it just seemed right. So these two I'm pairing together. Last, we have a Christmas flavor, which again does not feel super timely to talk about in February, but I had it in my pantry, and this is Santa's Secrets. And I have a couple of Christmas romances. This is from a series. This one is called Christmas at the Little Beach Street Bakery. It's the 3rd book in the series. It's very Christmas. And the reason why I picked this one over some of the other Christmas books I have is this one has kind of a secret. It's kind of the main plot of the book is like this secret that's going on. And so I just thought since it's called Santa's Secrets, that would work really well. So since I went through all that with you, I thought I would go ahead and make these teas and take pictures of them with the books. I'll be posting on my socials, so you can check that out if you want. But yeah, I thought I would bring you along to kind of make these teas and have like a little photo shoot. It's a lot of books. I have a lot of tea. I don't know if I thought this through. But I'm gonna try. I'm gonna try and make all this tea and kind of take pictures and bring you along and, you know, show you my process.